Well, the Crim is not only coming, the Crim has come. It's just about an hour away from the start of the very famous Crim 10-mile race, the first one of the Crim Festival of Races. And with us this morning, we have Ron Marinucci, who has his own history of the Crim. Ron, first question for you is about how many of these have you run?
I think this is my 19th.
19th, wow.
My 19th, yes. I marvel at the people who run 20 and 25 and 30, and in fact all 34 this morning.
Well, there are a few, but they're looking a little bit older than you are, so most of them anyway. Well, Ron, one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you this morning is you wrote a brand new and absolutely wonderful history of the Crim, and I think a lot of it was based on your own memories. Where did you get the idea of doing that?
I don't remember exactly how it all came together, but I enjoy running, I enjoy writing, and I enjoy history. And it kind of just last winter came together. Hey, why don't we do one on the Crim, which combines all three, which labor of love.
Well, it's interesting in that I learned a few things I did not know before, and one of them was the story of Bill Rogers and the Wheelers. Can you tell us a little bit about that story, since the Wheelers are going to be going off first here?
According to Lois Craig, the first race director, they were interested in getting an elite group here because they wanted to showcase both the city of Flint and the run itself. So let's get some elites. Well, Bill Rogers' name came up, and so she told Bobby Crim that she would fly to Boston to talk to him. Well, she ended up at Bill Rogers' running store. He wasn't in, and she waited and waited and waited. When he finally came, she talked to him about coming to the Crim, and of course there had never been a Crim before. This was the first one, and he kind of laughed at her, and she mentioned something about the Special Olympics. Well, Bill Rogers is interested in the Special Olympics, has several programs out there. He sponsors and directs races for them, and that piqued his interest. He goes, well, and then Lois finally got him when he said, I have a condition, and the condition was he had a wheelchair friend who wanted to come race the Crim. If you let him race, he asked Lois, I'll come. And she goes, that's fine, he can come. And so Bill Rogers came. Ironically, his friend didn't come in a wheelchair, but 2 years later somebody did come in a wheelchair. It was William Sills from Lansing, who was the first wheelchair racer. And of course, world records have been set on this course for 10 miles, and they're racing better than, 3.5 minutes a mile.
Have you ever seen the Wheelers try to get up the Bradley Hills?
Yes, they go up. Some of them go up. They come up backwards. They kind of zigzag their way in and up and out too. It's really an amazing thing, and I don't know how the early Wheelers did it with wheelchairs from hospitals, not the racing chairs that they have today. Amazing.
Well, it certainly makes you appreciate how much more difficult it is to do that, even though they finish so much faster.
Yes, it is. And any of the runners, the blind runners, one of my friends, Michael Holmes, is running this morning, and I still marvel at how he runs this race, and any of the races actually out running. And we'll have 2 or 3 or 4 blind runners who run this morning, too. Bobby Crim ran the race blind one year. One year he ran guiding a runner, blind runner, with a tether. And a couple of years later, he wanted to know what it was like, so he put a double blindfold around his eyes. And he ran the thing with one of the other state legislators leading him. And as soon as he finished, he ripped off those and said, that's it, no more of this. And he says, I really came to appreciate what the blind runners go through.
Well, it's always fun to see them start right after the Wheelers and in a little bit of an early start. And I also wanted to mention another thing that I was here for, but I didn't know what the resolution was until I read your history. And that was the disqualification of Asmay Lesgawi in, I believe it was 2002.
Right. She finished first, and the actual winner, Catherine Nedariba, said she came in very upset. And some other people recognized some things, too, that she was getting help on the course. And I believe it was her husband, who was also an elite runner, who was getting her water bottle, who was getting other aid, watching runners. They found out, and I believe it was Sherlyn Everly was the race director at the time. She didn't know exactly what to do with it. She said, I don't know. So she called in Greg Meyer, who didn't know what to do. And Greg watched the thing thing, and I believe Jim Gaver and Scott Hubbard watched the video of it, and they said, no, that's definitely cheating. And they had done some research that she had been disqualified in other races that she had done this with too, so it wasn't anything new. So it was kind of an interesting. We've had some things that weren't always, the funsy things that the history has included too.
Well, I think that's part of what makes it so much fun, is we all get together and tell the war stories of remember this and remember that. And my memory of that particular incident was after the race, I was setting up to do an interview with Catherine Dereba, who got the official win, and she was spitting mad. And it's unusual to see her in that kind of a mood. And she's back this year after an absence of 8 years because she's been out doing things like winning world championship marathons. But she remembered that incident, and she went right back to all the things she had noticed during the race.
Yes, it's amazing how many things, even the races I run, I've forgotten. I had forgotten about that until I talked to Sherlyn again. I forgot about the time, what was it, in 2005, where they delayed the race start for 30 minutes. I still don't remember. We delayed it 30 minutes. I just don't remember waiting out here for it. And it was only the 10-mile that was delayed, and she didn't know what to do. There are humorous stories. Some of the... in fact, I believe this was with Ann Galt. She mentioned talking about the elevator getting stuck, and about 20 runners were stuck on the elevator, and she didn't know whether to hold off on the race or let it start. Were there any elites on it? We back things, she said, wouldn't be fair, so they ended up running the race and, well, let the chips fall where they may. That was kind of a humorous one. Another time was one of the official photographer got here late, and they wanted to get him out in front of the pack to take pictures. And there was a biker gang that volunteered. She goes, I don't know about, and they put him on a bike and got him out in front before anybody else could have. And so that worked. So there are lots of great stories, human interest, humorous, of course, in the world records that have been set here.
Also, like the one when the mayor was in the lead vehicle and he kind of thought he was in a parade, not a race.
Right. Bill Kahn told me about that one, and of course I'm not at the front, so I can't see that. But he goes, yeah, they thought it was just kind of a fun thing. He didn't recognize it. He's kind of weaving in and out with his motorcycle and said, hey, you got to get going. These people are moving fast. And fortunately, nobody was hurt, and I don't think any times really slowed up by it. But I think sometimes people don't recognize it. At the beginning of the race, there's some very serious running going on.
Oh yes, and in fact, one of the stories that I like that you brought, it was a sidebar actually of Riley McClinton, and he'll be singing the national anthem here very shortly. And you gave him a new name. What is it?
I believe it was the Crim's biggest booster, and he had not heard that one before. He says, I think I like it, and he'll stick on with that too. But he does everything. He sings the song. He's out there peddling wares. He created a T-shirt for Special Olympics to raise money for that. He brings all kinds of publicity with dribbling his basketballs. I believe last week he was on Regis's show, I think it was. I caught it merely by accident when my kids were flipping through, my grandkids were clicking through the TV. He's been in Runner's World. He'd been all over the place with that too, and he'll be out here again this morning. I saw him yesterday afternoon, and he'll be out here again with his basketballs, and he'll be singing in probably about 15 minutes.
Well, speaking of 15 minutes, I know we've all got to get in our places for the start of the race, and Ron, thank you so much for doing that history. You can find it online at michiganrunner.net. Good luck in the race today.
Thank you. I'll need it. Thanks for everything.